Have you ever wanted to live in a video game? Have you ever wanted to have superhuman powers? Are you tired of the typical day-by-day life that you currently live? Have you ever wanted to be in a relationship with someone who can wield a purse hammer? Look no further than Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Today we'll be reviewing and proving why Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is the #1 comic book movie made within the past 10 years. With such effects as amazing transitions that very much like The Flash keeps you on your toes, the soundtrack that Hans Zimmer wished he dreamed up, and much more, so keeping your toes and expect the unexpected within a world that is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. For those watching who have not had their retinas blessed by this film, here's a quick summary of the film. Basically, a 23-year-old named Scott Pilgrim is in a band where he plays bass. Then after a bad breakup, starts dating a 17-year-old named Knives Chow. But also starts dating a girl named Ramona Flowers who, at the time, is around Scott Pilgrim's age. She is also the center figure for an evil group known as the Seven X's. And if he wants to keep dating Ramona, he needs to battle all 7 to win over Ramona and to also free her from her dark past. Now, let's move on to the bulk of this review, which is going to be on the usage of transitions and hidden details that the director Edgar Wright uses within the film. Now, Wright isn't unknown to use cover transitions or tiny details within film. We see this within Baby Driver, when the music matches the beats of the scenes as well, and tiny little details and neat transitions throughout the film as well. But within Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the scene transitions take on a different meaning than any other Wright film before. This is because unlike other films Wright has done, or even most films, each transition has a way of pulling you into the film even more. This is done by using diegetic sounds and objects to force transitions, whether it be a bus, a school bell, or even a concert, or maybe something physical within a scene that forces transition, such as a person walking in front of camera, Scott walking, or even just a simple eye roll. Each transition is persuading you to look deeper into the film, and as we all know, each great film has to persuade you to do something. It has to persuade an idea within your mind, and Edgar Wright does this through his transitions. Such as we see here with the uses of split screen between Scott and his sister talking on the phone, to a transition being set up by his sister's eye rolls to start said transition, and with Scott placing the left frame on the split screen so that when we pan to the right, we can zoom into Scott's world, his room that he's in, and then we hear a school bell along with onomatopoeia lettering to force our eyes to look at what's happening on screen, and it eventually leads down to the next scene. Each transition is inherently connected to the next frame. It never feels out of place. This is just an example of the usage of diegetic noise, however, and people to put you into the film. This is also seen heavily during Scott and Knives' date, and all the spots that film transitions to while on that date, as seen here. Each transition also has meaning. We see this within the film that the first half of it has a lot more transitions, and there is reasons for this. This is because within the first half of the film, Scott is a drifter. He doesn't belong anywhere, and he has nowhere to go. He's transitioning from not belonging anywhere to finding his place in the world, and by the end, the use of transitions, while still present, are not as often within the first part of the film, where the major level transitions are happening. This is because, like I said before, the film is trying to really emphasize that Scott is transitioning to becoming an actual adult by moving on from his breakup that happens off screen before the film even starts. But each transition is pulling you deeper and deeper into the film to the point where you feel like you are Scott and Scott is you. You are the superhero, but you also have no place to go. And just as Scott is at the lowest point in his life during the film, so are you, but the film will raise you into the best of the best alongside Scott's journey. This film, unlike other films such as Star Wars with its fades, any Marvel film with its jump cuts or fades, or most modern cinema to be honest, instead of solely having transitions as an aspect of the technical side of the film, Wright uses it as a narrative aspect, which is why this film, instead of creating a film where you think the impossible is impossible, you see the impossible is possible, such as the epic fight scenes we see, we don't question how that started. Edgar Wright just makes it reality. And this is very important because it really forces you to think like Scott. And it forces you to become Scott. And above all else, you relate to the character. Scott inherently is not a popular kid. Okay. He's a drifter who plays video games. He's in a band, he plays bass. He went through a major breakup with a very popular celebrity. And he's just trying to find his way back. He's making bad decisions, but he's also inherently not ready to become an adult yet. And this is something that is super relatable. And because most adults have gone through this transition period, and it's something we can all relate to. And so Edgar Wright uses these transitions to create a sense that you yourself are transitioning alongside Scott. And while it may not be the biggest transition in your life, you leave the film feeling like you grew as a person. Maybe if you learned nothing from the film, but because the transitions within the film, because of the storytelling that Edgar Wright uses, such as to utilize the hero's journey that we have seen in other films such as Hunger Games, it forces you to really think about yourself. And like I said, this is told through great narrative with the mix of technical editing aspects such as transitions. And the usage of transitions for the aspect of storytelling is what makes Scott Pilgrim the best comic book film made within 10 years. And now I want to move on just a little of a cliff note, because I don't want to spend too much time on this aspect, although I think it's a very important aspect, is the music within the film. Now, the music within this film is godlike at worst. The film has such a way of pulling you in with its music, because inherently this film is also about music, because each battle has its own score, each battle has its own theme, each battle with its theme sets up the fight, and well, I could go on and on about the different styles of music and how it impacts each fight. The one thing I'm going to look at is a singular song that is used for a tiny part that has become a fan favorite of the film and film gurus, is Black Sheep by Metric, which is covered by Brie Larson, the person who plays Scott's ex. Now, on the surface, this is just a normal rock song made by Metric. It just kind of fits within the style of the film. But if we look at the lyrics of the film, the lyrics of the song, is that we learn, if you really listen, we learn that the song is about a person who has nowhere to go, and he will take a ride from anyone. He will do whatever it takes. He has nowhere to go and has not been anywhere for a while. Right. This is considered the main theme of the film, and it really makes sense because it describes Scott's journey. It describes the hero's journey. It describes how he refuses for the call to action, how he then accepts it, how he finds love, right? And the usage of Black Sheep, while it may just seem like a write-off, is beautiful because of the usage of the fact that it tells a story that is one-to-one to Scott. That Scott will take anyone, and it just so happens to be Ramona Flowers. And alongside the transitions, this is what makes Scott Pilgrim the best comic book film made within the past 10, 15, 20 years. I could honestly say maybe all time. Not because of the epic fight scenes, although there are some cool fight scenes, but because you feel for the main character. The storytelling never leaves anything to be desired. You feel accomplished at the end of the film, like you did the same work that Scott did, because inherently you are Scott and Scott is you. And I'm gonna leave you off with one thing.
Chow knives.